Hey everyone, it's Allie V, and I just want to tell you about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. The best thing about it, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Then Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. The best thing, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome to Behind the Illness with Allie V. Let's get started. So this is the first episode of the new podcast, and I'm really excited. We're going to be talking about mental illness, maybe a little bit of like crime here and there, just because I love the psychology behind crime. But, that just kind of really just expands into, what the podcast is called, Behind the Illness. And so talking about the crime and all that stuff that, people might be labeled as a psychopath, and maybe that's why they committed the crime, really fits into what I want to talk about in the podcast as we go along. So this first one isn't going to be too long, just because I'm still just kind of getting the hang of it, but it's going to be really fun, really interesting. I'm going to make sure that I do my research before I talk about anything, because I don't want to just talk about something and then it be just false information, because obviously that's not cool. But I'm going to be inviting some guests on here. If any of you want to be a guest, that'd be cool too. Just contact me. However, I'll make sure I set that up to where I can be contacted if you want to maybe guest, or even send me some information, whatever the case may be. So I'm really excited for this podcast. I am nervous too. I am nervous because I kind of I do struggle with social anxiety. And for those that know me know it's always been kind of pretty bad. So knowing that, I'm doing something where I have to talk, and pretty much talk for a good bit, kind of makes me nervous, but I really feel like it'll be a really interesting project to do. So I've tried to make other podcasts in the past and they didn't work out, just because I let the anxiety win. But I'm not going to let that happen this time. So, but in addition to the crime stuff, I'll be talking about just mental illness in general. I've got a blog that I write, for those who don't know, and it's pretty much strictly about mental illness, about me living with depression and social anxiety, along with binge eating disorder and OCD. And then I've also got a true crime blog that I actually just started posting on this past week. So if y'all want to check that out, I will leave a comment with the links somewhere in here, so you'll be able to find them. So but to get started, the first thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that because I struggle with these, I don't even know what to call them, I guess illnesses. I'm not able to work or keep a job or anything like that. So those who don't really know about that part of me, which I feel like a lot of people should know now because I'm very transparent with it. I've had people say, "Oh, where are you working now?" And I'll say, "Oh, I'm not really working anywhere." And it's at first it was embarrassing, but now I'm just like, I'm not working anywhere, just not able to. I saw a post somewhere. I think it was on like a group on Facebook or something, where they tell people they're medically retired, and I really like that term, and I think I might start using it. But I really like it because it's not. I don't know. It kind of makes people. It kind of takes some. They're like, I wasn't expecting that answer. So, and really, you don't even have to tell them. You never have to tell anybody why you can't work. That's not anybody else's business, especially when it has something to do with, an invisible illness like depression or anxiety or anything like that. So, but, when you say you're medically retired, it's like, they're not expecting that answer. So they either start asking more questions or they just kind of back off because it's like, oh, okay, well, there's something wrong. And then some people get a little too curious. They're like, oh, well, I don't see any physical things, so why are you medically retired? And that's when you say it's none of your business. I'm just kidding. But, I used to answer, and say, oh, depression, anxiety, but now I'm just like, just because, I don't care. Like, I tell people my business, like on my blog and stuff, so it's not really that, but when it's somebody that's just asking just to pry, that's when I'm like, okay, well, no, you don't really need to know. My dog Finn, I actually had to retire him as my service dog because, and this is funny, and people laugh at this all the time, he couldn't be my service dog anymore because he was too friendly. And if you've met Finn, you kind of know how that is, because all he wants, like, he will wiggle his little butt all the way up to you with his tail wagging hard, and he just wants petting, and he wants attention. And service dogs can't do that. They have to focus. And I just couldn't get him out of that. So I'm like, okay, you know what? You're going to be my therapy dog instead of my service dog. And there is a difference. So he stays at home, and he's my therapy dog. And when I have to go out in public where I feel like I need somebody with me, which is a good 99% of the time, my mom will actually go with me, or maybe my niece or somebody, and but when Finn was my service dog, I had somebody ask me. I actually went to give blood, donate blood, and I brought Finn with me, and I wasn't. You're not really supposed to reject a service dog, but when it's in kind of like a medical setting, they really can do that. And so they told me, I couldn't bring him back there. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. I was with my mom. My mom went to donate blood too, so I just waited out in the waiting room. And the lady came up to me and she said, oh, can I pet your dog? And, I kindly said, well, he's my service dog. He's, focusing. And that's when he really was. And then he just got too kind of like laid back with it, I guess. And she said, oh, what's he a service dog for? And I kind of, didn't say anything. I was like, it's just psychological issues. And she really just started prying, like she really wanted to know more. And I'm like, I gave in because I was really, really nervous. But I was like, depression, anxiety, that kind of thing. And then she started asking me questions about that. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. So I was like, I actually need to probably take him for a walk and go outside. And so I did that. And it's like people like that, there's nothing wrong with asking questions. I'm not saying that. There's nothing wrong with her. It was just, it kind of gave me anxiety with her asking me all these questions. So people like that, they, that they don't understand, they look at you like you're lazy. because you can't hold a job, and that's just far from the truth. I wish I were normal. I wish I could have a job. I wish I could look like a normal human being. I wish that I could get a job, at least only to keep people from asking why I don't have one. And people really haven't asked in a long time, because I haven't had a job in I guess about 5.5 years now. And so they really don't ask anymore. But when they did, it really made me feel, and I'm not saying it was their fault, but it really made me feel like I was less than compared to like my peers or even my family members or anything like that, because I couldn't have a job, and I just wanted to be normal, and I wanted to, get a paycheck and all that stuff. And it's just it sucks, really. But my whole point is that I'm not lazy. It's just that I can't hold a job either. So and it's, I have to correct myself there. It's not that I can't hold a job. I mean, there's been a few jobs that I couldn't really hold, because there was one job that I quit after, I think, a day or two. I don't really remember. I remember a full day, but I can't remember if I did another day. And then the next time I was scheduled to go in, I called my boss, and I was like, I can't come in. And she was like, okay, are you sick? And I'm like, I'm quitting. And I still kind of feel guilty for that, but not really, because I had to take care of myself, and I understand the position it put her in, but and if I were to see her again, she wouldn't even remember me, I'm sure, but because that was about 5 years ago now, so it sucks. And then the job that I held the longest was, let's see, I held it for about 3.5 years, maybe almost 4 years. And with that job, I was just constantly being bullied, whether it was by the bosses or the customers or even my coworkers. Coworkers wasn't as much of a problem, because I made some incredible friends because of that job, but the bosses and the customers were the worst. And I have to even give my bosses some credit too, because they really helped me with a lot of things too, but they pried too much, they gossiped, they spread rumors. It was incredibly childish, the things that they did, but that is another episode that I will talk about, because I don't really want to, it's like I'm over it, because it's been trying to do the math here, it's been 6 years since I left that job, so it's just it's hard not having a job sometimes. But then when I think about getting a job, it gives me nightmares, literal nightmares. And so I'm in college right now, and people are like, well, what are you gonna do for a job? And I'm like, I don't really know yet. I just want to have that option, I think, and having that option is something that takes some stress and relief off of me in case I ever am able to get a job. I can use my degree to do it. So, but right now my plan is to be a writer, use the information and the knowledge that I'm getting from college and be a writer. Whether it's a freelance writer, or which is something that I'd rather be, as a freelance, but I'm not going to limit myself. But I've got plans, but because I'm home a lot more than other people, especially at my age, they kind of look at me as lazy, or I'm not trying hard enough, or whatever that may be. But it really sucks. And I've actually talked to other people that go through the same thing, we've got these issues that don't allow us to have a job. But from I think it's probably just a couple people that I've talked about that are my friends or whatever, and we all say we wish we could have a job, because we wish we were normal, because we wouldn't wish a mental illness on anybody, because it's not fun, and it's not just this walk in the park, because just because we can't have a job because of it, it's not like we just get to live carefree every day. It's not like that at all. Honestly, we're kind of constantly fighting for our lives, because when the thoughts start sneaking in, the thoughts of whether it may be, self-harm or even suicide or whatever it may be, we and everybody else that has these issues are fighting for our lives every day, and that is exhausting. And that is our job. And until we can get to a point where that doesn't have to feel like a job, where it just feels like, okay, we can get through this, we've got the confidence, like we can get through this, then there is nothing wrong with us just, I don't want to say stay home and fight, but, if you can't hold a job and maybe you get like disability benefits or something, then shoot, fight, because fighting for your life is a job. And I don't see it as anything else other than that. And we have good days, especially me, like I have good days where I feel like I could do anything. I'll go for a hike, or I'll go shopping or something like that. And then, people see that. People see the good days, and then they won't look at the bad days. So they see these good days. Oh, why can't she have a job? Why can't she do this and that? Because they see one good day and they just erase all the bad days that we have. And it's kind of unfair, but it's like I said, like fighting for your life, 5 out of the 7 days of the week is a job for me. And even if I'm not having, suicidal thoughts or anything, I'm still fighting for my life, because if I don't keep fighting, then I'm just going to turn into just this thing that just lays around all day and throws myself a pity party. And there are some days that I do that. I do that. But the next day I'm like, today I'm going to be productive, and I'm going to fight, and I'm going to do something that I enjoy, and I'm going to get this done, and I'm going to get that done. And that is a fight, and that is my job. That is my job right now. So, I don't have people anymore tell me, well, you need to go get a job. I don't have that, because, a good bit, probably 99% of the people in my life know that I can't hold a job because of my mental illness. So, I don't have that problem anymore. But in case somebody does come up, it's like, okay, well, I've got a job. It's just not a normal one, I guess. It's not as conventional as some people may want to hear. So that's all I've got. I'll talk more about it if y'all want to know more. But I feel like, I don't know, for 5 years now, well, almost 6 years now, fighting for my life is my job, and fighting for myself, fighting for even other people, because I am an advocate for people with mental illness, because that stigma is just constantly surrounding mental illness, and constantly surrounding us that battle with it. And that's another thing. I stopped saying suffer with a mental illness. I now say battle with it, because anybody that is listening right now and you have the same if you struggle with depression or anxiety or whatever it may be, that makes you a warrior. It's a different kind of warrior that people that don't know about it will never understand, because it's an invisible illness. So they think, I don't know what they think, honestly, but that makes you a warrior, that makes me a warrior, and that's why we have to keep fighting, because if we stop fighting, unfortunately, to be blunt, we're gonna lose. And anybody that's listening, any of my friends and my family that struggle with this, I'm not gonna let them lose. I'm gonna fight for them. I'm gonna fight for myself. That is my job. So, that being said, I want to thank you for listening to the first episode. I've got a lot more to say. So, I don't know when an episode's going to come out yet. I don't really know if it's going to be weekly or whatever. It probably won't be more than that. So I'm thinking probably even like 1 to 2 times a week. I'm not sure yet, so don't take my word on that. Don't quote me on that. But we're going to do this, and we gotta fight. Gotta keep fighting. So thank you for listening, and I will talk to y'all next time.